Start recording.
Yep.
And then minimize.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on Breaking Bad tier list.
Hello.
So this is it, right? This is it. I wanted to get this done.
You know who I think should be S tier right off the bat?
No.
Okay. Fine.
You said we gotta let it flow.
Okay.
I really didn't say that, but I hate to let it be known, but you know what? We're gonna be straight up. I personally, I can say I'm a little bit drunk for this video, but I wanted to get it done.
A little bit. We're both wasted. There's no little bit, bitch.
I wanted to get this video done hours ago before the party started, but other things came up.
It only goes to D?
I ran out of time, I guess so.
That's fine.
But we can just leave it or put it in D or S. I'm excited to do this video. That's why I wanted to get it done. I'm a little bit drunk. She's a lot bit drunk. So, whatever. It is what it is. But I'm going to try to keep it on track as much as I can. So, we mentioned a little bit in the video yesterday. I don't know if this video will go up first or the casual dining video where we do more regular restaurants, whereas we did a fast food video one before. But yesterday we were trying to explain how she doesn't really like, I don't know, she's kind of ADHD where she can't really sit and watch TV shows.
I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but we're both 99% sure that I have ADHD because I can't sit still, and it's not just that I can't sit still. I can't put all of my attention towards one thing. Like if I watch TV, it's my hands. I need to do something with my hands. I need to actively, physically be doing something. Otherwise, my mind is not going to be able to process any information that you put in front of me. That's why I used to doodle in high school or chew on my pens or something. It was just always something, or middle school, elementary school. So it's undiagnosed, but we're both very, very sure that I have it.
Yeah, but with me, it's, you know, one of those things where
shit over here. I do. It's just over here.
It's out of context. I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to put that in context for the video, so I'm just gonna keep going. I'm the opposite, so it's kind of funny that we're a couple, but I guess it works on the same hand because I'm very, I really invest in the TV shows. They are my distraction from everyday life where I can escape. Even if it's something that I generally don't like, I'll still end up finishing it, whereas she, like I said, she can barely finish things that are good. However, Breaking Bad was a show that we found a few months back, or, you know, not too long ago, where we did do a drinking game, playing Breaking Bad, watching Breaking Bad, where, you know, Jesse does this, Walt does this, etc., whatever, where we would take drinks and we'd play and we drink and we'd watch the show.
And Breaking Bad was something easier for me to watch because it was something that I had previously watched the majority of, so I knew for the most part that I did enjoy the show, but it was just the pure fact that, you know, I didn't finish it, and in my house, I was living with my mom and my aunt at the time, so they both made it a competition of who's going to finish it first and spoil it for everyone else. So it really made finishing TV shows like fucking useless to me, basically, because they were going to tell me how it ended anyway, and I couldn't compete.
For somebody who's already, like, not going to finish the TV show anyway.
I couldn't compete because I was in high school, and I just, like I said, my attention span wasn't very good anyway. I could watch maybe 2 episodes max in a day. Meanwhile, my aunt, who was an EMT, EMS paramedic, she, you know, worked 24-hour shifts every 3 days, so anytime she didn't get a call, I mean, she could just do whatever she wanted, which therefore was watching any TV show she wanted to binge. So she really got ahead of me while I was in school for 6 to 8 hours a day, depending on what time I went home.
Yeah.
I got it spoiled for me, and it just kind of made it ingenuine to me. I didn't want to watch it anymore. I wasn't interested. It was just more of like, what the fuck? Why would I want to watch that now?
When you already know what's going to happen. Yeah, so for me, this isn't a review like for Breaking Bad overall. I'm going to try to keep it short, but it's hard not to whenever we kind of, I don't know. If this is somebody who's watching the tier list just for the tier list, you may, of course, want to click off. But if this is somebody who's a long-term fan of our channel, you may want to stay on. But for me, You know what? I'm going to say straight up, my experience with watching Breaking Bad, I was addicted to it the first time. I was like, wow, this is the best TV show I've ever watched. However, like I said, I'm more into TV than she is since then. So I've watched pretty much every good TV show that's been reviewed under the sun by anybody. You know, since Breaking Bad. I watched Breaking Bad, like, you know, when I was like 16 and I'm like 23 now or whatever. So for me, Breaking Bad is now, I would say, this is going to be a huge argument, I feel. Maybe not. I'm going to say it was overrated. It's a little bit overrated for me at this point in time. But whatever, it's still a good show. It's still going to rank up one of my best shows. But at the end of the day, it's not the best show. It's still overrated. And I think it's fitting that we're drunk doing this because the entirety of us watching Breaking Bad together, we were fucking drunk anyway. So so we'll go ahead and try to get through it. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do it.
We'll tell you what our drinking game was at the end of the video, so we can entice you to at least stay through.
Whatever.
But
I feel like we've already went on too long for us.
Like, okay. Let's go ahead.
It's gonna be like too long anyway.
It's gonna be cringy.
Yeah.
Jesse.
So, S tier.
I feel like he was a victim in the majority of the show.
I will say almost every character kind of for me fell off in season 3 of Breaking Bad. I feel like season 3 of Breaking Bad was just too fucking cluttered. I can't even think of the guy who did Breaking Bad. Now, if I was sober, I would be able to name it off perfectly. But while I'm drunk, I cannot think of the guy's name who was the showrunner for every episode of Breaking Bad. I can't think of it, and otherwise I would be able to. But it feels like in season 3,
I don't know, because I did point out to you that every time we watched the credits, it was a different name, and you were like,
but
of
course. I mean,
everyone who is
writers, but overall the showrunner is always going to be the same. Yeah, for Breaking Bad it was. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Gilligan, Vince Gilligan is the guy who did Breaking Bad.
I'm pointing him down.
So yeah, the way the showrunner works, to my understanding, overall, it was his idea to say, okay, in the beginning we're gonna make Jesse, and this may contain spoilers, just so we're saying that. We should have said that sooner, but now it says, I think it's good. But so Vince Gilligan, he would say like, okay, I want Jesse to start out low in this season, a drug addict, but at the end of the season I want him to be built up to where he's confident in himself. But the writers, it's your job to show how he gets there. And in season 3, I felt like he was like, okay, it was season 3 where he found out, okay, this show is good, everybody loves it, so we got to add all this shit in, and I know where I want it to go, but you know what, just in case we only get this many seasons, I'm very amped up because I got so many people into it, so we got to add all of this shit in at once, because I'm so pumped about that everybody loves it and everything, that he wanted to throw so much shit up the board because he knew it was working. Season 3 was a mess for me, and it's really the biggest stain on Breaking Bad for me. Oddly, the same first stain for Walking Dead for me, another AMC show, was season 3, but it's not about that. Overall, Jesse's arc, I don't know, I guess you can't really count El Camino for this list, but yeah, I mean, he's a victim for the whole thing, pretty much. And I feel like you can't not feel bad for Jesse.
People go through their own rabbit holes through life no matter what. So I can't really judge him for picking drugs, considering I've done drugs at one point in my life. Maybe not as heavily as, heroin and meth or whatever, but I think people go through their own rabbit holes or whatever, but just because he did drugs doesn't make him this piece of shit that Walt kept saying that he was. Not that he necessarily meant it.
He was easy to tear off drugs when it came down to it, though. He was always smart. He was very easy to throw away drugs.
But what I'm saying is that's what Walt held over his head the whole time. Was like, you're just a drug addict. You can't do anything right because you're so reliant on drugs. You spend your money on drugs. That's all you're always thinking about. But that's not how I saw him, And I don't think that's how anybody really ultimately saw him. So that's why I put him in S tier, because he was a victim in most of the time, and he was really the only one with a sane fucking mind. Like, dude, we almost died to that one Mexican, the first guy that they were both.
All sympathy always for the situation.
Always, it was just always like, dude, he got fucked over every single fucking time.
It was that he always had sympathy, and as well for the fact that he always had smarts as well. When Walt gave him the situations of, listen, Jesse, you're too stupid to understand this, or anybody, Jesse was always smart. And again, to Walt's point was always Jesse. It makes Walt kind of right in a character, even though he was a dick sometimes, most of the time, Jesse for sure, Walt was always right whenever he was saying, like, Jesse, you have so much potential, but, you know, you're stupid in this way and that way. Walt was right, because Jesse did have a lot of potential for who he became, because he was always smart. And he had
faults, yeah, but I think Walt was making it just way worse than it seemed to be. Like, it wasn't like his faults were really preventing him from doing the things that if he wanted to do, he would have done them.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about Breaking Bad, though, at the same time, is you get to debate, like, listen, even though as much as a dick Walt was to Jesse, if Jesse hadn't have been such a dick if Walt hadn't have been such a dick to Jesse, you know, Jesse might have just died to drugs early and just became a drug addict without Walt pushing him to be something greater. You know? So that's interesting. So Jesse's such an interesting character just for that. I want to make sure we're still recording because, like I said, I am drunk. Yeah, we're good. But yeah, Jesse's such an interesting character because of that. Yeah, he's no doubt.
I mean, if you doubt that he's a victim through like the first how many seasons are there? 8?
Breaking Bad 5, and then
5. Okay, if there's 5 seasons, you know, you can at least say, oh, he was a victim of the first 4. You know, being under Walt's, you know, harsh, like almost parenting, and then, you know, Walt making him way worse than he really was, and then of course being under one actor that you say that he was in Black Mirror. I can't think of his name right now, but you know, being trapped, being trapped for Todd and stuff. You know, if you didn't believe he was a victim before, he was definitely a victim in those last few seasons. So it was definitely. I mean, he's a fucking victim.
I'm not going to say. I will say I felt sorry for Jesse majority of it, or I felt like, you know what, he's, you know, going better places with El Camino. There was, I can't remember the certain seasons, so I'm not even going to try to place it, but there were seasons where Jesse kind of annoyed me a little bit from here and there, of course. That makes
sense.
Yeah, I didn't like how, of course, because I'm somebody who's kind of, what's the word, financially conscious, and I didn't like how Jesse kind of blew his money here and there just to make himself feel more absolved for the bad things that he's done. But I found it interesting as well.
I understand where he's coming from, though, because there was no other way for him. He didn't really have family that would take him in where he could just be like, you know what, let me do whatever I can for you because I feel like shit. So it was just like, you know what, just pick whoever up on the street because I don't have the options of picking who and from I can make these decisions for and help them, or fucking give them crack, or give them cigarettes, or give them a fucking place to sleep, party, alcohol, weed, pizza, you know. It was just, you know, it was just...
So Jesse is such an interesting character. We could probably go on more and more about how he's changed in different ways and what's interesting about him, even though, you know, I'm not going to lie, throughout the course of the series there were points where I wasn't his biggest fan. Yeah. But overall, you know what, he's such an interesting character just to debate and develop into what was going on.
And the reason that we say he's a victim is because if Walt I'm not going to say never came into his life, because I know he was like a high school teacher for him at one point, and that was really all it was until afterwards. But if he didn't ever escalate past the high school teacher, he wouldn't have got into 99% of the shit that he was in.
Right, but again, why I say Jesse's so interesting at the same time, because if he hadn't have met Walt, he probably, like I said earlier in just this video, he would have died. He would have died as just a drug addict. He probably would have died just as a drug addict. His life would have been simply, you know, he would have continued into
meth. Would he though? Because he met Walt.
And he met Jane. If not, if Walt hadn't done what he did with Jane.
He met Walt and he went to the you know, he moved out of his ex-drug dealer's house. The first one who got arrested, that was with 8 Ball. You know what I'm talking about? The first guy who got arrested right on the spot is Walt. Yes. Crazy 8. Crazy. What is it? 8 Ball? I'm so sorry. I'm drunk.
No, that's the point.
But then he moved out. He got his own place at his aunt's house, which I guess that was his house all to begin with. But he was spending more time there because he wasn't cooking at the other house. And from there, he got more involved into the meth and stuff, and then he felt the need that he needed to move out because his parents were telling him, you're too involved in meth, you got to get out, because he was involved with Walt. He was, you know, kind of low grade before he was with Walt, and Walt was pushing him, go higher, go bigger, expand our territory. So he got bigger. His parents found out, told him, get the fuck out, and that's when he moved alongside with Jane and like the duplex type thing. So would he have moved into with Jane had Walt not pushed him to grow bigger and expand therefore his parents finding out and kicking him out. Would he have? I don't know. It's a philosophical question,
even if he was still involved with Skinny Pete and Badger and I can't remember the other guy's name, Combo. Just with those three, yeah. I mean, we don't really know what happens to Badger and Skinny Pete after El Camino, but we can pretty much assume they probably still stayed into drugs.
I think they're just still very casual users, very casual, middlemen for dealers.
You don't end up being like a somebody with a retirement plan or a world class. Yeah, that must be my friend.
No,
a world class businessman. But yeah, just he's so interesting. And for the most part, he is the good character, apart from.
I mean, sure, he has his little faults here and there, I think, but there's nothing that weighs in my mind that tells me he deserves to be anywhere less than S tier.
An interesting place. Yeah. So moving on, like I said, we could do a whole nother just video talking about Jesse. I mean, we're drunk
and
as
Walt
well.
Probably, but
yeah, we'll get to Walt, so that's why we should move on because we still got a long list. But so. If there's not an F for him, so we'll just do D. Easy.
I think he's D because as much as he had an impact on Skyler's story, I think his character was so fucking doo-doo himself because
he's so fucking irritating.
He is so irritating. Her saying, "You know what? Listen, I'll pay for your taxes because I feel bad I helped you launder the money and blah 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 blah." He was still saying like, "Nah, dude, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, kill yourself right the fuck now, dude. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, and this video is still pretty fresh on our minds, luckily, because I know Breaking Bad is now like almost 10 years old, even to the end date of it. I think it ended in like 2013. So yeah, it would be better if it's even fresh, but I just remember even drunk whenever we were watching Breaking Bad episodes for the second time for me, everybody was so irritated. Fucking irritating every fucking time. And even though Skyler was irritating as well, Ted was just fucking worse, dude. Because there was always, I feel, a way out for him. And when the way out was there, he was like, "Nah, dude, I'm not taking the way out." I can't get into specifics because, like I said, the details are lost on me. But I know for a fact that Ted was always irritating. But I will give credit to the writer, Vince Gilligan or whoever. They knew what the viewer wanted to see with him, and we got it. Spoilers, but with him getting in a fucking accident where he got his neck broke, he was bald, he got fucked up.
I'm just scared of the family in general, the White family.
So we got what we wanted with him.
You wanted him to be in the loop, in the grasp of everything, where he really didn't have a choice, but he was really only used to develop Skyler's plot within the whole circle of everything that was going on. Right. And that's fine, but they did it. I mean, I'm not going to say they did it poorly, but his character was just poorly. He was just doo-doo. I mean... No,
it's not... Yeah, I think again...
And maybe it was meant to be like that, writer, so I can't say.
No, because I think the showrunner knew what he was, and that's why he gave it to us with him getting so fucked up in the hospital like he was.
Yeah, I get that now because, with Skyler, she really fought to be involved in it. I mean, she told Skyler, I'll help you launder your money if it's not a lot, but she did say, that's all I'm going to do. I don't want to be any more involved with it. Don't tell me any details or anything because I don't really want to know. She specifically said that. Yeah. And the fact that she really got wrapped up in it because she knew how to launder, she had this sympathy piece to help Ted launder. She helped him launder and then everything got, wrapped up. And he was there to develop Skyler's plot, and I get why he was there, and I get why he was done poorly, because they really needed to
No, I wouldn't say he was done poorly. He's just not a likable character. I don't think he was done poorly.
That's what I mean. Yeah. But I'm saying that's why they did that, because they needed to expand her plot out. They couldn't have just made it so, he'll take the money, and then it's over. It wasn't like a one episode, oh shit, is he going to tell? And then him not tell. It was like a nail biter for like half a season.
Right. And this is a completely different side note. I hate to really branch off from too much from just the list itself because it's not something I want to see. But again, our YouTube channel is more for hardcore fans so far. But it's something I've noticed and I have a real problem with because I am a big connoisseur of TV shows. So I can say this, and I could do a YouTube video on this itself. But something I have a big problem with, and I'm not one to be like I don't know, what is it, 2020, 2021, whatever, like sexist or feminist or whatever it is. But I notice 100% of the time in at least 3 or 4 TV shows that I watch, Sopranos, Mad Men lately, Breaking Bad, whenever they have a character, a male character, let's say Walt in this instance, do bad enough to make the wife want to cheat on him or divorce him, they make the wife also have an instance where it's bad enough where it's at least even to the main character, to where it's like, okay, well, Skyler's doing this stuff to Walt, well, yeah, that's even, it makes sense. Where it just can't be where Walt does some fucked up shit to Skyler, and it's like, yeah, of course Skyler would want to leave Walt. Skyler also has to do some fucked up shit to Walt, to make it even. And I think that's because most of the time the main protagonist is the male, and that's why they kind of have to make it even, so you still are in favor of the male character in that way. And because, like I said, we're watching for Walt, not Skyler, so we have to kind of balance, because otherwise, what's a show if you don't like the main protagonist, if you like a side character more than the main protagonist? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just something I noticed because I watch a lot of TV. But yeah, even back in the day before, like, I guess feminism or whatever, stuff like that was more popular, yeah, they still kind of balanced it out with Skyler to make it seem like, okay, Walt and Skyler are kind of even. But yeah, Ted is so fucking irritating to watch. I guess it was a good job because I think that was the point. But yeah, D easy. So, moving on here to Mr. Hank.
I think he's very, very one of the top tiers, yeah.
A for me. Now, Hank is an A for me because I've heard, of course, many people say it over the years. Hank is, he's the real good character of Breaking Bad, where if you root for Walt, Walt may be S tier for me. We'll get to it when we get to it. He's last, of course, I think appropriately, because he's the hardest one to place in that, but, Hank is the good guy because, look, I mean, I've watched shows like Sons of Anarchy. I hate to break it off from Breaking Bad, but I watch shows like Sons of Anarchy and I'm sure other shows too I can't even think of right now. But, Jax isn't the good guy in that situation. In any of the seasons, he isn't the good guy. He's breaking the law. Walt isn't the good guy in any of the seasons. He's breaking the law.
It's hard to see that, though, when that's the only person that you see the majority of the time. Your brain automatically wants to connect that to, protagonist. That's the good guy in the show. Just because I'm seeing, his point of view, his side of the story for the majority of it. But that's not how it is. And that's something that you need to really, develop into your brain. Like, just because I see him the most doesn't mean that he's right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, but that's what I was going to say with Hank. Yeah, you're right. Because, so Hank is the good guy of the series. He's always doing the right thing. The only, and Osmondays is just the saddest episode of Breaking Bad, the episode where I think I've already said spoilers for this, so, I mean, obviously, this is going to have spoilers.
We'll put a big spoiler alert in the title.
I mean, you should know, but, yeah, so the episode where he gets killed in the desert, it's sad, because he makes his last call to Marie, and he's just doing his job. At the end of the day, as much as you want to root for Walt and Jesse, even, they're both criminals. They are criminals.
Right,
they
and
both
he still
deserve
does his
to
job,
be in jail.
regardless of the fact that his brother-in-law is the one committing these crimes, and is the big mastermind of this whole plot that he's been fucking devoting his life to figuring out. I mean, he spent, 5 years at that point trying to figure out what the fuck was going on? 3 years, whatever, I don't know. He spent years trying to figure out who was this Heisenberg character. Never knew who it was always coming up to dead ends or false leads or whatever, these bait tackles that Walt and Jesse and Tuco even put up or whatever. But and even then it was I'm sure it might have been a little bit hard for him to think, like, what the fuck, this, but he never had the prideful remark of, just because they're my family, he still put that shit aside and still, made his case, tried to find the facts. He might have done it behind his department's back or whatever, him and Gomez doing it by himself, but he still managed to try and get the correct evidence to put him under legally. Not, I mean, it wasn't right, necessarily going behind his department's back and without backup and stuff like that, but he was still trying to find the correct evidence before he detained anybody and making these false accusations. He was doing it the way he was supposed to do. Just,
by the books.
Yeah.
He's a good, he's just, as they would say on The Wire. I know she hasn't seen The Wire, but as they say on The Wire, you know, he was just good police. He was just good police, and you know, it's kind of, I hate to bring it up to what it is this day and time, but it's just what it is, you know. As much as TV as I consume versus her, you know, I think Hank would be seen as like a toxic male in this day and time. But you know, Hank was just a good man when it came down to it. He was just a manly man. Because when it came down to it, I remember in his last moments, he was like, what did he say? You know, just do whatever you're gonna do. You know,
yeah,
fuck
he
it,
didn't even beg. He didn't beg or nothing.
Because he knew what was coming. He told Walt, what did he say? As smart as you are, you already know what they're gonna do. Just do what you're gonna do.
Because he had been, you know, communicating with Walt about all the shit that's been going on with his case, and Walt knew, you know, those leads point to me, but you still don't see it. And it's not because he didn't see it. You know, if Walt were some big mafia member, like big drug dealer that they had busted a few times but didn't have any hard evidence on, Hank would have easily been able to say, it's this guy. Like, how do you guys not see that? But because he was his brother-in-law, innocent fucking high school science teacher, he couldn't see it.
Hank accepted all of it right at the end. Even though he had lost, he still went out the most badass way he could have. Accepted all of it.
I think he
was smart enough to see all the pieces fall into place, and the only thing he could say
was GG, basically.
Do it, yeah. And he did.
GG, you won, dude. You fucking played me, and you played me well, and you won. You got it. Yeah. I mean, what can I say?
And it's chilling to me even to talk about it still right now, even though I've seen it, you know, a few years ago and just a few months ago, just rewatching it with her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hank was a badass character. The first time watching it, you know, a little bit younger, I was like, you know, a little bit less liking of Hank, and just because I didn't understand the law and like, you know, but Hank is the good guy.
Because you fall in that same characteristic of where you think that just because you see Walt the majority of the time, because he's the main character, that you think he's the good guy. But you gotta think about it, dude. He's making meth and he's killing people and he's hiding bodies and he's dealing meth and he's not a good guy. I mean, and even if you don't even include any of the meth shit, I mean, in general, if you just see what he does to Jesse, like as his like foster son or adoptive son or whatever you want to see, how he treats him like a son figure.
I love that fucking relationship. That's
right, it's still fucked up. Yeah. You know that he's in the wrong.
But like even at the same time, I love Hank's shit whenever he's with the family, the white family. Because he's always trying to, he's always saying some shit that's uncomfortable, but at the same time, he's trying to de-escalate the situation. I can't even explain it, but
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's comedic relief for the most part.
He tries. It kind of makes it a little bit more awkward, but you kind of feel comforted by it. I know what you're talking about.
And even as fat and as old, whatever the actor is for Hank, I unfortunately don't know, but he does a good job. But unfortunately, whoever the actor is for Hank, he appears in Breaking Bad, obviously, Better Call Saul. So I appreciate that too, because you know I feel like whenever you're an actor, you get old, you get fat, whatever, you're gonna say, no, I don't want to appear, I don't want to look this way. He still appears even with makeup and stuff, you know, but he still looks old and stuff, but he still does it. So that's really cool for me with him. He appears in like one episode of Better Call Saul.
I would almost put him in S tier almost, but
the more we talk about it, but I will say I should have said this sooner, just because I know we ramble on a lot.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's me too. But you know, it is what it is. The video. We're gonna do how we want to do it, whatever. But the only reason I would put Hank in an A for me personally is because he is a hard fucking dick for the way he treats Marie in some of the season. He's a hard fucking cocksucker.
And it's because he's so fucking wrapped up in his work. And I get where you can. I've never worked a job like that where the work does follow you home. I don't want to work on a job like that because it is very stressful. So I don't know the impact.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's break it down though. If I were to treat you the way Hank treats Marie,
I'm not justifying
would you justify it though?
No, I'm not justifying it at all. I'm just saying that I don't know the ins and out of it. I wouldn't justify it 100%, but maybe I could, you know, everybody has a bad day and you can see where maybe you would take it out on your
But eventually
it's like,
dude, this is too much. Like,
right.
When Marie's like, you know, I mean, whenever Marie's like, you know, hey, you know, your boss brought by these case files. What are you looking at? No, fuck no, Marie. I just want minerals, Marie. Minerals, Jesus.
Yeah.
We always joke about the meme with the minerals. Yeah.
Rocks. They're rocks. No, they're minerals, Marie.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
But no, when it comes to Marie coming home and bringing home
I think
cheese puffs, and he's like, no, I wanted fucking Cheetos. Go back to the grocery store. That's when I'm like, listen, Hank, you're being too much of an asshole.
The best way to say it is that I think his morals were very, very good. He had good morals. Yeah. He knew what was right and what was wrong, but his personality was just a little bit in. But his morals were so strong that it really puts him up in the A tier. And that's really the best way to word it, I think.
Yeah.
His morals were just...
So Hank is close to an S, very close, but...
Very, very close. I think he's just under that line, dude.
Yeah.
But just can't put him there.
And that is a characterization tier that came with me, with watching it for the second time and being older and understanding, like, law enforcement and how that works.
I think if I would have if I would have remembered what it was like when I watched it the first time, I probably wouldn't have ranked him that high, but I think the majority of us watching it and maybe you need to rewatch to be in the same shoes that we are, but, you know, rewatching him and seeing how frustrated he was and how much time he had put into everything and knowing that, you know, the answer was just right there, you know, all along. And Walt was literally giving him these fucking stupid clues, knowing that he could get away with it, knowing that he would never be suspected.
Right.
It was just kind of like a big fuck you. And you feel so much sympathy for him. Not as much as Jesse, which is why he's an A tier. But you feel a lot of sympathy for Hank because you know he devotes a lot of his time and work into that.
Because, you know, with Hank, throughout, I mean, again, this is why Hank is an A, whereas if it had been the first time I was watching Breaking Bad when I was like, you know, 16, would have been in a C. Hank probably would have been in a C. But Hank is in an A because at the same time I'm old enough to understand, like, if Hank had found out that Walt was Heisenberg, you know, earlier in the seasons, he would have lost his job, right? He would have lost his job, you know? Mm-hmm. And even if Hank had lived on out of Osmodeus, that episode, you know, he would have lost his job. He just would have, right? So either way, he was fucked. He would have lost his job.
Yeah, because he never really told anyone, like, hey, I know it's my brother-in-law, but I need the evidence to get a conviction. He wanted to still do it by himself because that's how he was from the day he got the case of this Heisenberg motherfucker. Like, he was still, I'm going to do it by myself. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to show my boss. Even when he was the boss in the end, he was still doing it for himself. He never put that shit on anyone else because maybe he was too devoted in his work, whatever, but he was prideful in the good way of where he knew that this was something that he had to do and that he was doing it from the get-go. And even if he knew that his brother-in-law was in it, it wasn't something that he was just like, let me pass it on because I know it's something that I shouldn't be getting mixed in. And he didn't have those family prideful issues where he still knew what was right and was wrong. That's why we say he had very good morals, but his personality was just a little bit
Right, so even though Jesse's in S tier, I mean, I feel like Hank morality wise should be S tier, but we're going to leave him an A for different reasons. So anyway, we won't harp on that anymore because I know it's been a while for just Hank, but a long time. So Gomi, we're not going to remember, maybe not remember all these characters, but Gomi for me, I think is an easy C.
That's what I was going to say. He's in the bottom two tiers. I wouldn't even say that he's D. I think he does do a lot for Hank, and he does, even just as a friend, say, you know, like, what can I help you with? What's going on? Talk to me or whatever. I think he's a
plot of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I think he's a good support character for Hank, but overall in the plot, it's just not anything that was super memorable to me.
Seeing Better Call Saul, it's cool to see him in there, but yeah, he's just a supporting character for Hank and nothing specifically for just the audience.
I think it made him, I think the only I don't want to say that he deserves a D, but I think he would have been right on the line. But I put him in high C, only because maybe I'm wrong remembering this. You can feel free to correct me or whatever. But I think that when Gomi came back after his teammates or co-workers had gotten, you know, killed with the turtle bomb in El Paso or whatever it was. I don't remember. And Gomez was like, yeah, I'm going to go or whatever. I'm sure he was hurt, but I think it kind of put him back on his high horse where, like, if someone else has the courage to go do that after what I went through, like, I can at least do my fucking job here.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of what put him back in that position instead of being in that depressive state, you know, staying in his room when Marie was like, what can I do for you, whatever, you know, but I think he had a good spot right there in C because of that. I don't want to say that, like I said, he was right on the line between C and D for me before, but because of that subplot particularly, I think he deserves to go into medium to high C.
Yeah, I agree, because Gomi, like I said, like she said, pretty much said, Gomi was a great character for Hank, but for the audience, he was just, you know, he was just there. So moving on to Badger.
I think he and Skinny Pete are going to go in the same category because I think they were both very good subplots for Jesse. They were very supportive. They weren't bad friends.
And I think El Camino, she's seen El Camino, and this is just Breaking Bad, but I think El Camino counts, and even Better Call Saul counts into this. You know, so what is it? Badger and Skinny Pete, you know, really elevate even more for Jesse, and
when he comes to them after, even they know that he's being wanted and looked for and stuff like that, and they still help him out.
Every dime they got in their wallet just to help him get away.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's because they owe him. I think it's just because he was a good friend.
And I also like how in El Camino, I mean, I know El Camino is kind of iffy if it's great or just good, you know. I think it's just good for the most part.
I think it's just good too. I think okay, let me pause you for a second. I think it's great for a TV show long episode for like an hour or so, or 45 minutes to an hour maybe, but for a whole like movie, I wouldn't qualify it as great because I think it would have something that could have fit into another, like, you know what, just because we didn't, if you guys have unanswered questions, we'll give you one more episode of Breaking Bad where we can answer those questions, or what
happens to Lydia, what happens to Walt. They kind of,
that's the only reason. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but just because,
but they still do. Yeah. I think the biggest question was what happens to Jesse.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't an El Camino review. I could get into that more, but so yeah, for Skinny Pete and Badger though, what I like with them even more so, just for El Camino's sake, is the fact that Jesse's survival is dependent on them, because Jesse, whenever he goes to the vacuum cleaner guy, I forget his name, but when he goes to them, he is just shy. He's just there of making enough to give the vacuum cleaner guy, the Disappearer, I think is his name, Ed the Disappearer.
It's like $200 out of the 20 grand that he needed. If not for
Badger and Skinny Pete for giving them every bit of money,
every money they had in their pocket,
he would have made it, yeah.
And even though they didn't even really owe him anything, it was just because he was a good friend in general. I mean, and I'm not saying that this qualifies you as being a good friend, but before he was giving them meth out of his own pocket, even though he didn't need to and stuff like that. I'm not saying that makes you a good friend, but everything counts when you're trying to determine what values you as a good friend or whatnot. If you can put monetary value aside and still do what you want to do for your friends without being so stingy, like, oh, you owe me $2 for that McDonald's shake I bought you, that's a good trait to have,
And side note, the El Camino first teaser, I feel like Badger and Skinny Pete are only really brought up to a C and not a D for me, otherwise irrelevant. I mean, they helped Walt in the last episode with the sniper thing, remember? The two snipers from Mississippi or whatever. But the only reason they're brought up to a C and maybe not a D, I mean, I don't know, I think they're a confident C. But I like it. But
I think they're just straight middle C. Like, I can't put them any more above because they don't have too much an impact on the plot, but they're really just
for Jesse.
Yeah. But I was thinking, even in El Camino, which, like I said, like we said, it's not an El Camino review, but he had like PTSD symptoms when he came back, and they were still like, hey, you want to get in the shower? You want us to help you shave? You need shaving stuff? Like, it was just, it's not like it wasn't like a scared thing. Like, yeah, take whatever you need, bro. Like, don't hurt us. It was more of like dude, we thought you were dead. Like, we're genuinely worried about you. Let us know what we can do to help you. Like, it wasn't it wasn't anything like you would have assumed it should have been.
Right, and side note, the teaser for El Camino with Skinny Pete, I doubt she's seen it because, like I said, she watched Breaking Bad like after it was all said and done, even El Camino, whereas me, I watched it, a little bit more while it was going on. But there was a teaser with Skinny Pete where, what do you say, I'm sure hardcore fans know what I'm talking about, but he was like, no way I'm helping you put Jesse Pinkman back in a cage. So it kind of shows that even after Jesse left, Skinny Pete still got arrested. And they showed that in the teaser. Skinny Pete was arrested and talking about Jesse. So yeah, good friends, but yeah, same category as Gomi for Hank. Hank was to Gomi what Skinny Pete and Badger were to Jesse.
I don't want you guys to get it confused. I think Gomi would go like low C. I think he did have a lot of support for Hank, but I think that they did
high C.
a lot. Yes, definitely. I think they did a lot more for Jesse, but still C because there's not a name between.
So here's a tough one. No, not C. Gustavo is an A for me.
I was thinking A, if not S. I think the only reason that I don't think he's S. I think the only reason that wouldn't put me S for him, he was a very good businessman, and that's not a fault to him. It's very good businessman, especially if you're gonna be in a drug business. I mean, but the fact that Jesse was telling me, you guys are employing kids. He went and told them, don't employ kids anymore. They fucking murdered the kid, and he was like, well, you told me not to employ kids. It's all business type stuff. But you gotta have a good middle ground for that crap, I mean,
I think
he did really compose himself. He organized everything well. He gave Walt and Jesse like not even second chances, like 2, 3, 4, 5
I'm glad
chances.
You're saying that, yeah, because I would have. Yeah,
I mean, if he were truly businessman, it would have been first mistake, you're out. He really appreciated the work that Walt and Jesse did, because Walt, told him, I can't do it alone. I gotta have Jesse. And he proved it too on the cameras of him not being able to lift the bags and measure things out or whatever. He did all of that to prove that he didn't need Jesse.
Yeah, so Gustavo, many times through watching it, we felt bad for him just for what she's saying. We were like, man, Gustavo's business is perfect, but Walt's fucking it up.
He literally...
It's perfect because he's so composed. And I think a lot of the reason, this may go off the rails a little bit, but I think the reason I like Gus is because he is so nice and orderly, and that's how I am in my personal life. I'm very OCD where I like my things to be.
But he's also scary because he's so orderly, because he
clean and stuff.
Tell
so
you
I like
like
to
you
keep
need
my
to
stuff
he
clean,
would tell you and
yeah.
you need to do this, and if you didn't do it, I mean.
But it's valid.
There's picky, though.
Gustavo is a villain only because of the kid stuff. Like she was saying, I'm glad she remembers that you brought that up, because I wouldn't have thought to brought that up. But apart from that, Gustavo, he had everything figured out pretty much perfectly.
But you know what? More than I think about it, he did seem, and I do genuinely believe that he did not know that these kids were working for him. I think there was just those piece of shit dealers that he had working for him that they thought, I'll just string around some fucking kids in this ghetto neighborhood I work in, because that's what they were doing. They were sitting on that one corner, where Combo was killed. They had that same kid or whatever. But I genuinely don't think that those guys went to Gus and was like, hey, can we hire a fucking 12-year-old or 11 or 9-year-old, whatever. I don't even know how old he was. But, I don't think that he would have said that. I think Gus would have been smart enough or personable enough to be like, no, don't do that. Like, I don't pay him. I pay you guys. But
that's the interesting thing about Gus, though, is I 100% think, and I don't think there's any argument with you there, Gus is smarter than Walt. He's smarter than Walt.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, even after Jesse, said, oh, I'm going to fucking kill him because that's my girlfriend's son that he's got, like, captured up doing all this stuff. Gus was like, I don't want anything to do with it. And I genuinely don't think he told his guys to go kill this kid because he'd seen too much or whatever. I think he just said, let him go. Don't fucking do it anymore because we're going to have issues in our business, and you know how I am as a businessman. I don't want any fucking issues. So cut it off. Pay him whatever he needs to do or
Walt as
whatever.
his arch nemesis. When was Gus out of character to Walt, where he was out of his business, really, where he was
right? But that's what I'm saying, though. Like,
his business, like,
morale was so fucking strong that even with that, even after they killed the kid, he told Jesse, like, instead of saying, oh, you know what, fuck them guys too, we are going to have a problem now, he still was like, it is what it is, it already happened, I can't change anything about it, I will punish them, I will tell them they can't do that anymore, I'll reduct their pay, or whatever he said, I don't remember, but I know he said he was going to deal with it. But even then, even then, I know he was affected by it, I know he wasn't okay with it. Even then, his fucking business morale, not his emotional morale, his business morale was still like, I'm not going to fire them, or I'm not going to kill them, they're still going to work for me. You know, they did their job. I told them, you know, to cut him out of it. I didn't specify how. Maybe that was his fault, maybe it wasn't, but, you know, his business morals were just so, he was just such a top-notch businessman.
If not for Walt and Jesse, man,
they
Gustavo
literally
would have had it.
Yeah, they were the only reason.
I remember the episode where he started getting questioned by the Kank and the police. I was like, dude, I know everything that Gus has done, but you know what? This bullshit story he's feeding to police, I fucking believe it.
You know he had that shit planned for a long time, since day
I believe it, bro.
Since day one, because he's such a businessman.
And it's the actor at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
this actor, whoever plays Gus, I can't think of it, unfortunately, but he plays in. He's gonna be in like Far Cry 6. I forget what else he's in.
If that actor did not play Gus, he wouldn't be S tier. I'm telling you, he wouldn't have done it justice. If it were anyone else.
The way he's so, the way he's so.
I mean, like you said, even when the police were interviewing him, saying that they had these, you know,
the way he like hears what they're saying and he looks at it and he's saying, oh, well, you know what?
I have this
let me see. I was doing this and this.
Perfect explanation. No holes, no faults, no doubts. I've never done anything wrong in my life. He even went as far to drive a piece of shit car, even though he was sitting on trillions of fucking dollars.
I think it's safe to say that Walt is a worse character than Gus.
I mean, that motherfucker went through and bought 2 new cars in the same fucking day.
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile, Gus is sitting on a car 10 years old. You know, he literally did everything right, but Walt. I don't even say Jesse, because Jesse wanted to get out for a long time, but Walt was dragging Jesse down with him. But Walt is literally the reason Gus got caught and died. Like, literally just fucking Walt. I mean,
no, but I'll say it is very smart the way that they made Gus lose to Walt. And I'm not going to say that, Gus is smarter than Walt, so it's bullshit that Gus lost to Walt. It's smart that Gus lost to Walt because it's just it's just a fact of life.
And that's literally
Gus lost because of his heart, because of his emotions, and that's why he lost. You know, not because of his business or his practicality. It's because his emotions.
Walt wasn't a businessman. He was an emotional man. I mean, he was a businessman to an extent, but not like Gus. And Gus was an emotional man like Walt, and it just wasn't a fair playing ground. It wasn't.
And that's one of the best things about Breaking Bad, I'll still say, is because. You know, because of the way they play out the interaction between Gus and Walt.
But we'll get to that later.
Because just a little hair of why Gus lost to Walt, which makes sense, you know.
And we'll talk about that later. I'll talk about that later.
So yeah, I think we put Gus in an A tier originally, but I think he deserves S.
I think he deserves S too. He did everything as right as he could, except for Walt. And you can't expect anyone to do anything perfectly.
And I know you haven't seen Better Call Saul either, but you know he's in Better Call Saul as well. It's tough to say that he's cheapened by Better Call Saul just because it's more of him than what we really needed. But the way that they use him in Better Call Saul is you know it's fine. It's just fine. You know, it's not needed, but it's fine. So yeah, I think Gus is an S.
Skyler.
This is a tough one.
I think she's gonna go B, C, or D. I wouldn't even. I don't think she goes A, and I definitely don't think she goes S. But I don't know.
My problem with Skyler is the fact that she. Yeah, it's hard to remember back. I know. My problem with Skyler, though, I think off the top, is the fact that she blames Walt for all this shit, but it's also shit that she's been like, yeah, it's fine. But then whenever shit starts to go wrong, she's like, well, why did you get us into this, you know, oh my God. And whenever she was fine with it until shit started to go wrong, at least to my memory. But also I like Skyler for the way she handles shit when it does go wrong, because like with shit with Ted, she handles it pretty well. And when she finds out about Walt, she also handles it pretty well.
She's very, procedural, and when things start to go wrong, like she would always go through Sal and stuff, like, let me ask you what I should do, because, you know, like you were saying, between Gus and Walt was very emotional. He was one to be like, I just fucking kill him, you know, or I'll tell him who's boss in this, you know, I'm the boss here, I'm the one with the money, you know, that was very Walt.
I'm the one who knocks.
Right, so, but
That's
Skyler was very middle ground, very business, but very emotional. She didn't want to kill Ted, because Ted was a friend, Ted was her boss, whatever, but she wanted to make him understand that he didn't have a choice in this scenario of paying that money back to the IRS. She was very, very middle ground, so I think B is a very good place to put her. She had very good arguments as to why Walt was a piece of shit, but she also had a few arguments as to why he was a piece of shit that I didn't understand.
She's doing the same thing. She's doing the same thing.
So I think B is hard, very good.
But throughout the series, I feel there was a lot with Skyler where it was like, she had some good arguments as to why listen, Walt, I don't want you near the kids. Why, Skyler? Because I almost got killed the other night. Someone almost came in the house and killed the kids.
And
so what? But Skyler was like, yeah, that's why I want you away from the kids. So a lot of times I was on Skyler's side with her arguments, even though I liked Walt better. But yeah, a lot of times I got where Skyler was coming from, even though, you know, at the same time I feel like she brought herself into it. But more often than not, I was on her.
And even if you wouldn't, even if you didn't want to look at it from like a dangerous kind of aspect, even in a raising type of aspect, you know, she was always one to teach Walter Jr., you know, we don't have much, so don't take advantage of what you have, you know, we'll give you what you need. She got on the PT Cruiser, whatever, and then here comes Walt flinging money out, you know, left and right,
I
or
like
whatever.
that intro where it was like, where they had the cars next to each other, and then they, you know, amp them up, and then
right, so it's rough as a mother. I'm not even a mom, but I feel like if I were a mom, I would even more want to put her higher, because it's hard to, we have to, you know, if we're going to do this, we have to maintain our regular lifestyle. We can't be doing anything crazy. Even that bottle of liquor that she was telling him, that bottle of champagne, that's a $60 champagne. How are you going to tell people we afforded that? You know, she's being very cautious.
Yeah, but I get frustrated towards the end when she's talking to Hank. Whenever Hank finds out about Walt.
Yeah,
and then
I know.
Skyler's like, you know, don't really know what to say because she was involved in it almost as much as Walt. But
even though she said that she would never be involved with it.
But then, she just kind of doesn't want to say anything to Hank, where she's just like telling Hank to fuck off. So Skyler, I think Skyler's kind of lucky to be in a B and not a C. But yeah, I'm gonna leave her in a low B. I think in a mid to low B.
I think she's mid B. Yeah, I think she's mid B, because I feel like through the first half of the season, I really felt with her, and then for the last half, she became very hypocritical. But I kind of get where she was coming from, because she wanted to do the wrong thing in the right way, but Walt wanted to do everything wrong. Let's do it wrong and messy, because we've got away with it for this long, so what the fuck's gonna happen now, you know? Right. So I think she's just hard middle B for me.
Right.
Walter Jr.
And then this one's tough, because how can you put the handicap kid low? Yeah, Flynn. I don't know that we could put him in fucking B.
I don't think he had
He's either a B or an A, dude.
I don't know.
He's in a B with Skyler.
I don't think he's too
not
much
because of any.
wise.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Not because of any flaws of his character. We feel bad for his character. He's screwed over by Walt.
He's very
He cares about his dad and for what he believes his dad to be, and no flaws on his character.
And you know what? That's something else.
He's not very important.
That's something else that we need to talk about Skyler. You know, she never, even though he's very well old enough to understand, if Skyler were to tell him, your dad is doing bad things for money, and that's how he's been paying for X, Y, and Z. You know he hasn't been teaching at the school, because you go to that school. You don't fucking see him there. He's never there. So you know he's making money to pay, you know, for X, Y, and Z. You know that, or whatever. But she never did that for the sake of, I don't want to, you know, diminish my kid's reputation of you. She never did that, which is why I think she deserves a little bit higher than Lobie. But a lot of the feelings I have for Walter Jr. are sentimental. I just
feel bad for him.
Feel fucking bad, because he really
thinks the best of his dad and his mom as well, but he's just he thought poor of his dad,
And his dad would tell him, yeah, I don't know why she's fucking mad at me today. And he fucking called her a bitch, even though she wasn't really in the wrong, you know?
That's my favorite thing, Walter Jr. I quote it to her sometimes, even before she watched Breaking Bad. Mom, why are you acting like such a bitch? Not making fun of him saying that. It's just funny, you know. But he calls him mom a bitch outright. So.
And that's you know, something that she did. She never told him, oh, well, I'm being a bitch because your dad did X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E. You know, she never...
Even towards the end of the series.
Flaunted her fucking dirty laundry out to everybody, even her own fucking kids. She never did it. Never
And even
once.
whenever he finds out about Walt towards the end of the series or whatever, you know, he just can't even believe it. I mean, of course, right?
Yeah.
Of course, so... Yeah, he's not in the B because, you know, he doesn't, because we find any negative flaws on his character. It's just because he's not all that important to the story. So here we go. Tio is all I'm going to call him, Uncle, right? Mm-hmm. I can't think of his name. I think it's Salamanca.
Salamanca.
Yeah, Uncle Salamanca. I'm sure that's not his right name.
No, it is Salamanca.
So this is tough because she's only seen Breaking Bad. She's never seen Better Call Saul. You get to see his backstory in Better Call Saul as to how he becomes in a wheelchair. And, you know, a little bit more branched out on his story. But even without that, he's still a pretty integral character, I want to say.
He is, even though he didn't get a lot of screen time, and it's kind of crazy, honestly, the more that you think about it.
I'm putting him in B.
I think B is valid.
Salamanca. He's iconic. Yeah. He's iconic with his bell.
And even through everything, you know, as much as he was pissed off at Jesse and Walt for killing Tuco, spoiler, he still never ratted them out to the police because he had that strong cartel fucking morals. Like, I'm never gonna work the police because that's just how I was brought up. You know, it was very I'm not gonna say it's good morals, but very good upbringing where he was still very uprooted in that and never was gonna let go of that, regardless of how severe the crime and the punishment was of Walt killing his own nephew. Still wasn't gonna do it. Didn't fucking matter. Never gonna do it.
He was a good strong character. Good opposer.
Even though he never said a word.
Yeah, opposer to Gus. Even though Gus is an S and he's in B, I think they were very good polar opposites to each other, and their stories for different reasons. You know.
I don't even know how to explain him and the business versus emotional relationship that he had because he was just. I mean, he just dig. I mean,
his fucking you gotta get the actor credit. His facial expressions that he gave, just the actor.
Oh, when he was ringing the bell and shit. Yeah. But I was talking about, you know, in the flashbacks that we saw where Gus's partner got killed because he was the one who was just no, he was the cook, wasn't he? I don't even remember, but he was like pissing in the pool and Gus was like, you shouldn't be doing that. And he was like, I do whatever the fuck I want. And you know, he poured everybody a tequila shot. And he was like, you don't get one until Big Boss says so. And even though Big Boss came out and was like, what the fuck, you not gonna give him one? Like he's our guest or whatever, you know, still he was just still very like a dick, but still, yeah. I mean, that's just the best way to put it.
So Hector is his name. Hector Salamanca. Yeah, he's great. I would almost want to put him at an A just because he is such a prominent character. Let's see. Should we put him?
I mean, he is a big part in Gus's death, even though.
And then you know, you get him in Better Call Saul. He is very iconic.
I don't know. I think he's right on the line of A and B, so it's hard to say. But I'd be good with either one that you want to.
With how minimal he was to the story, if you really think about it, I think I want to put him in an A.
That's fine. For the amount of screen time and not even speaking any words, he had a lot of impact on the story. Yeah, I think
he speaks in Better Call Saul, right? and it makes him even further. But I would put him at an A, even without having seen Better Call Saul. Jane, ready?
I'm not ready for Jane. D. Thank you. I didn't want to have to argue with that. I fucking hated her.
She's gonna ruin Jesse's fucking life without Walt. I don't know. Well, I don't understand still to this day. She's seen El Camino. Don't know why she had that scene in El Camino where she was so important to Jesse's life and like.
Okay, here's what I think.
She was gonna ruin Jesse's life.
Here's what I think of Jane. I think she had the best of intentions of telling him, you don't need to listen to Walt. He's not your dad. You don't owe him anything. You don't have to report to him. But she was a fucking junkie, and that's all it was. And even though she had the best intentions, those junky, habits and addictions, they don't outweigh anything. And that's where her fault came in, and that's why she's in fucking D, because, shit,
She was just kind of, unfortunately, like Jesse's first love.
It's literally, it doesn't, it doesn't
that's
matter.
the only reason she was so important to Jesse and so important to the plot, because she was his first love. But even so, your first love, dude, I'm sorry, but raking it from a perspective, that's not just your first love. She's a D, dude.
It doesn't matter if you say that you want the best for someone else, but if you turn around and tell them, oh, let me shoot you with some heroin, it's gonna be real good, we'll just use what money you got left, you automatically go in fucking D. It don't matter if you have good intentions or not. I acknowledge that she did, I do, but her actions, completely different story, and that's why she goes in D.
Even as much as, like, I know Walt had his problems at the time, whenever Walt came to Jesse's house and was like, listen, Jesse, you need to think about this, like, think this through, like, this girl, and then she just closed the door on Walt.
That pissed me off.
And Jesse was looking through, like, listening to Walt, like, oh, wait, maybe I want to hear what he has to say, and she just closed the door in his face, because, like, he was talking some logic, and she closed it on him.
Yeah, because she didn't even know, the majority of the story. She could have known, I think at that point, maybe, like, 30% of what was actually going on and how everything was going down and how affected Jesse was by her. But she was so, like...
spending all of his money on drugs. They would have spent all their money on drugs.
I know, but like I said, that's another reason that I put her in such a low D tier, too, because she's just a piece of shit when it came to that. You barely know him, and you're already telling him you don't get to talk to him because I don't agree with what he has to say, and I don't even get to give you advice. I'm just going to tell you right now, don't fucking listen to him. Yeah. I can appreciate the concern, but if you're going to follow through with it like that, and then on top of that, be like, oh, we should move away with all this money. First off, telling him what to do with the money, even though you guys aren't even official, like, you guys were just fucking. You guys were just fucking. That's all y'all were doing, getting high and fucking. And him saying, yeah, okay, let's do that. And she's like, well, wait, what if we just use, one more time and use all this fucking money? It was always one more time. Yeah, exactly.
So when I watch El Camino, I strongly wonder if Vince Gilligan forgot who Jane's character was. I know who she was for Jesse. She was his first love, right? And Jesse says this to Walt, it's his first love. And Jesse was very young at the time, so of course, that's going to seem like his first love. But as Jesse matured to El Camino, he was probably like 30 years old at the time, versus like early 20s. And Breaking Bad, I would expect him to mature enough to be like looking back on Jane and be like, you know what, dude, she wasn't good for me. I expected Jesse to mature at El Camino, to look back at Jane and say,
I don't think
she wasn't good for him. But he never got to that. I don't think he got the opportunity to.
I think he was too, torn up about her death, and then on top of, towards the end where Walt just told her, yeah, fucking watch that bitch die. I watched her choke on her vomit. It's hard to get past.
Yeah, but even at the point that Jesse was at in Osmodeus, the episode that you're talking about, I still feel that Jesse should have been mature enough to look at it and be like, yeah, that's fucked up, Walt. But at the same time, you know what? She was not good for me at all. We never got that.
I think he could have acknowledged that to a very, very small percentage. But I think in turn, it was more of like she understood that I was addicted to drugs at some point, and my parents never understood that. And even Walt, being a father figure, still, treated him like shit. So even though she was literally putting a needle in his arm, he had this like false image of like she was the only one that was ever around and ever listened to me and wanted the best for me, even though that's not true. But that's what he probably thought, because everyone else, what in turn was supposed to be doing the best thing for him, in his mind wasn't the best thing.
Right. But again, I get what you're saying. But again, one more time, my problem with Jesse is and Jane is the fact that in El Camino, Jesse seemed like a wise enough character to understand that that's not what Jane was to him. But the story still made it seem like Jane was still his number one best thing, which at that time it shouldn't. So Lydia.
I hate Lydia. I do. She was just annoying, honestly, the whole fucking time.
I'm putting her in a B or C. You probably want to put her in a D. A C, okay.
I would put her in C because I know
care.
she had a lot of impact in the last few, moments or whatever. But
yeah, because she was the what is it, international distributor for them.
I think she was very much
a lot of money.
She was very much cocky almost, like, oh, you're not gonna kill me because you need me. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up and do your fucking job.
Her character was more like funny though, because like you said,
in a stupid way,
because she was so cocky to Mike, or scared of Mike because of what he was gonna do to her, because she was so almost scared of getting caught like Walt is.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, I don't know if you get her in like I think Better Call Saul and stuff, where she's like really, really scared too. So she's like really confident or really scared. I think a good job.
She really is.
So it's kind of a comedic like a thing.
And then she'll flip so fast too. She'll be like, "Yeah, I can get you the stuff. I can do it this time, but you got to do it my way because I'm the only one who knows how to do this, and without me, you can't." And then she's like, "Oh, well."
But then she gets the comedic thing with Todd, which I just noticed. Todd isn't in this tier list, which I would put him at a fucking S, honestly.
S? I don't know.
Or an A.
I would put him an A or B maybe, but not S.
Because I like the actor, the way he plays.
He is a very good actor.
Yeah, but he's not in here, so. But yeah, you get some good comedic stuff with Lydia, but overall.
That's weird that they was at Lydia but not Todd. Anyway.
So I put her in a C.
That's fair.
Whatever. And then Marie.
You moved her to D.
Oops. So with Marie.
Can we skip to Tuco? Because I think these four are pretty iconic.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I know where I want to put Tuco, but Marie, so for season 1 through like 2, maybe, I guess put her somewhere relevant. But for the other seasons, I could care fucking less. Apart from season 1 and 2, she's so irrelevant. She just really is. She has story in season 1 and 2 that's annoying. And then for the rest of the seasons, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's even up to 3. But for whatever,
well, you know what?
She's relevant, and then she's completely not for the rest of the season, to where you feel bad about her, or you just don't like her.
I see where you're coming from. I do agree with the first few seasons, where she's just fucking annoying piece of shit to Skyler, putting her through some hell, just a fucking bitch in general, just always making fun of her, putting Skyler down, comparing herself to her, and always, ranking herself above. But I think in those last seasons... She's a fun
character, almost like Lydia, though, to talk about and make fun of, though, right?
Yeah.
To see?
But in those last seasons, I get so fucking annoyed, and I
feel
know
so bad for her, though.
That's what I'm saying. I know where she's coming from. Well, I wasn't even thinking about that, to be honest, but I know where she's coming from. But I'm still very annoyed where she was bugging Hank. You know it's Walt. Go fucking arrest him right now. But it wasn't as simple as I can't just go fucking arrest him. And he would always try to tell her that, but she just was so like. And then even all up in Skyler's business, not even trying to understand. I get you guys were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because he had to have this extensive cancer treatment and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that I can justify you guys doing something very illegal, but maybe I can understand where you felt like you had no choice or nothing. Even for her own damn sister, she's just a piece of shit to her.
Yeah, she's really shitty to Skyler.
Yeah, I mean, you can be shitty to anyone, but your husband and your sister, family, like immediate family like that, who don't really deserve it. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I did genuinely feel bad for her.
Remember whenever she thinks that like the problem between Walt and Skyler is that like Skyler cheated on Walt.
Yeah. But I did genuinely feel bad.
She's fun to watch though later on. She's fun.
Yeah.
To interact with. That's why I would say she almost is like in the same boat as Skyler.
Right in the center of CMB. But the only reason I would put her like in the middle of CMB is because of, like you said, you feel really bad for her when Hank dies, because she did do a lot for him, saying, don't go. I can tell you're stressed out. Just tell him that you need a break. This isn't your life. You don't need to dedicate so much into this. You're the only one doing that. Just relax. This Heisenberg is not gonna, be the be all or end all of you. Just chill out, And then that was literally the reason that he died, because he couldn't let it go, and he just kept digging and digging and digging.
I feel like the more we talk about Hank, he might be S tier. If Gus is S tier, Hank might be S tier.
Yeah, but that's why I'm tempted to put Marie in B, but for her personality, I just didn't
because
like
if
her,
you compare between Skyler and Marie, even though Marie was more annoying, I feel like she is still more interesting to watch than Skyler.
It does look weird to me, because I think Walter Jr. definitely shouldn't be in the same as Skyler and Marie. Because that was just more of like a sympathy thing.
Though. That's the writer's fault, I feel, for making him so irrelevant.
I don't know, but yeah, go ahead, continue. Saul.
No, but
I think I would put Marie in B.
Marie in B, yeah.
I think she's so high C that it's not
Marie,
fair.
It's minerals.
She's so high C, it's not fair to put her in C. If that makes sense.
Yeah, she fits in the same boat. You're right. Okay. Yeah. She also I've tried to explain to her that Breaking Bad is color coded. I don't quite understand how it's color coded. I know Hank is like orange, Walt is like green, Jesse's like black for the most part, and Marie is obviously fucking purple. So it makes her character a little bit more interesting as well, because when we used to drink and watch it, it was every time Marie's purple.
There's purple everywhere. That was literally the sole reason we would get
always
drunk.
Purple, yeah. So, Saul, you probably feel like an A, but for me, I'm putting him an S.
That's what I was going to say. I think Saul was the perfect balance of Hank and I mean not Hank, of Walter and Gus. I think he was the perfect balance of emotion and rationale and business. He was very perfect in the middle of, let me be logical, but let me also...
He saved him so many times.
He was. I mean, he just straight up was.
And if you see, and the thing, again, this isn't a Better Call Saul review. I mean, it's not a Breaking Bad review either. But if you watch Better Call Saul, you would think, like, okay, it's going to be reliant on, having Breaking Bad, like, stuff in it. But you watch, like, Saul, not even in his state that he's in Breaking Bad, but just in the state that it is in Better Call Saul. Like, before he's Saul, his name's Jimmy. His real name's Jimmy. And just as Jimmy, you're like, dude, I feel sympathetic for you. I'm interested in what you become. You're an interesting character just on your own. Where I would just watch just a show about Jimmy McGill as how he becomes Saul. And so that's why he's an S for me. And I feel like if you just watch Breaking Bad, he would just be an A, because for how many times he saves.
I would still put him in S just watching Breaking Bad.
Okay. Yeah. So me as a Better Call Saul fan would be an S, but for her, even just seeing Breaking Bad.
I think he received a lot of shit for stuff that people didn't understand. How much effort he put into covering up your shit or laundering your money and stuff like that. They never gave him the credit that he really truly deserved. They just thought, I'll pay him $10,000 and he'll make it do, and there's not going to be any issues because I paid him X amount of money. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be any. And again,
it shows you how much power lawyers have, though, or how much power they can have, But yeah, he's a lot of just comedic relief as well. But at the same time, you're like, sometimes in the series, you're like, okay, well, bro, we feel bad, Saul. Like, you're not just comedic relief. Like, this sucks for you, Even just in Breaking Bad, so...
I mean, he got screwed over a lot.
Yeah, so Saul's the reason, like, honestly, that the story continues on past, like, season 2, because he saves the story pretty much.
Shit, he had to move away, even though he recommended, you guys need to get out of here, and you guys need to stop being so fucking messy, and let me handle it the way that I want to handle it, but, he never, ever had a hold on Jesse or Walt, trying to fucking, like, mediate between them two in the last season or whatever. He never could do it. So that was literally the downfall of him. So it was just so messy.
Yeah, even when Saul had the right to be like, listen, Walt, listen, Jesse, fuck you. You need to fucking listen to me right fucking now. He never did. He was always just like, listen, guys, come on. Please listen to me, because this is what's going to work, So... Yeah, I think Saul is the savior of the series. He's the glue that holds a lot of this shit together.
Even with Gus, he wasn't he like Gus? No, he wasn't Gus's lawyer. I think Mike.
No. Saul works for Gus and Mike before he worked for Walt. Yeah.
And then
Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Skyler went through Saul for a lot of her problems.
Yeah.
Even with Ted and shit. They brought a big black guy. What's his name? To help
I'm sad that he's
Huel.
not in the list because I think he'd be S tier. I'm sad he's
Saul literally was like the coordinator for everybody. Okay, you do this, and this is what I'm gonna do for you, and if you just do this for me, and I'll do X, Y, and Z for you. It was just so much that he did, and I know a lot of it was behind the scenes. We didn't even see a lot of it. Otherwise, it literally would have been Better Call Saul, but Breaking Bad version. It would have.
Yeah, we'll have to watch Better Call Saul. It's good eventually, but yeah, he's the glue that holds a lot of it together. You know, unspokenly. Gus.
S or A.
S.
Yep.
I
That's
think
Mike,
because,
babe.
Or I mean Mike, yeah, because he literally just for the line that he tells Walt in his last scene, like we said, spoilers, where he tells Walt, like, if you hadn't have let your ego and your pride get in the way, then we would have all been fine right now. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's what we've been all thinking this whole time.
He was more of a businessman than Gus was, and that's saying something because Gus, like
Mike
I said,
was more of a businessman than Gus.
Yes, because
just as much.
No, because Gus, he gave Mike and Jesse all these, several different chances, but anytime that Gus said, go fucking take Jesse or whatever, no matter how much you like him or whatever, or Walter, go do this, even if he changed his mind, last second, don't do it anymore, Mike was there. He's like, I'm here for a paycheck, and that's fucking it.
No, Gus had a soft spot in his heart for Jesse, though, because he was young and he's older. He had a soft spot for Jesse when he shouldn't have sometimes as well, just like Walt.
No, I'm saying that even though Gus was saying, like, go take him to do X, Y, and Z, go tell him to be involved with me in all these meetings, if he really had a soft spot for him, he wouldn't have done that because the meetings were dangerous to begin with, and he almost got killed when those guys were killing Gus's, I don't know what to call them, little decoys outside or whatever, because they wanted to get a cut on Gus's business and expand it out past North America and Mexico and stuff like that, back into Mexico. You know what I'm talking about? Where they killed that guy and Mike was like, get behind something, don't just... And Gus walked out there like, he won't kill me because he just wants to talk and he's just trying to get to my attention. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If it was really, I just don't want anything to happen to Jesse, it would have been different than that, but I feel like Mike... I mean, I'm sure he did have a soft spot for Jesse after all that time, but before, he was a very, very businessman. Whatever Gus said, he did. Yeah, he did it. He did it for that fucking bag,
for his granddaughter, yeah.
For that paycheck.
Yeah, so that's a big reason. I don't know, maybe we'll differentiate on that. But,
and he had no fucking shame in telling people, stop doing what you're fucking doing because you're playing with fire, basically. Like, and he would warn people. He had so much old man wisdom to tell them, like, don't fucking do this because you're not gonna fucking survive it. You can't do it, dude.
He's an interesting ass character, though, again, because his whole characterization, we haven't seen Better Call Saul, of course, so maybe that's where you get it from, but I think you got a little bit from Breaking Bad. His character was he's an ex-cop. I mean... And the reason he is an ex-cop is because his son was a good cop, but his son got caught up, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I'm misunderstanding or misremembering, but I'm pretty sure his son got caught up with some dirty cops, and his son got killed for it. And then he turned against cops, and that's why he's on the drug side of things. So that's interesting in itself, but then again, I feel like he had a lot of sympathy for Jesse's character, of course, and felt bad for Jesse and wanted Jesse to turn back to the good side because of Walt. And, but
overall,
again, he was just in the business for his granddaughter at the end of the day.
Overall, I mean, just straight up, he was just a badass dude. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to get in and get out and do what he needed to do and handle it well.
Yeah,
I mean, shit, I don't think I ever really seen him make any major mistakes.
I never disliked Gus through the course of the series. Never. Even in Better Call Saul, like I said, he's in Better Call Saul, and you see where he first starts working with Gus, and I never I'm sure I said it wrong a few times, but Mike is his name. Yeah, I never didn't like Mike through the course of the series. Mike was honest, probably the most blunt character there is.
Definitely was.
Like I said,
he would always tell people, where they're fucking up, and you don't have so many chances. So I've been in this business for a long time. Don't be doing that shit because I'm the one that's gonna have to come after you, and I'll tell you, I'm not gonna hesitate to do it. because he was in it for that fucking money bag.
But I feel like, again,
for Walt specifically?
Walt, of course, but with Jesse, I feel like he had a soft spot in his heart for Jesse because he was young. Like I said, he was still a grandfather at the end of the day.
But I feel like he never really had anything to do with Jesse because Walt always had some kind of convoluted plan to keep Jesse out of it. Like,
I feel like Mike was the better version of Walt.
Definitely.
To Jesse.
Most fucking definitely.
Oh, yeah. Because he was
the one who
better heart for him.
Was not dragging him into the business, but like letting him be more aware of how things work and the ins and outs of things, while also doing it safely. While Walt didn't know everything that went about in it, and was just
Walt
like
knew.
jumping
Walt just
in.
Didn't give a fuck to tell
No, he
Jesse
didn't because
wrong.
when Gus died, he was like, all right, we'll just take over, and Gus and Mike was like, you gotta pay your mules, you gotta pay your deliverers, you gotta pay the dealers, you gotta pay. It doesn't work like that, dude. You don't just get 10 mil every time someone cooks. You gotta pay all of these fucking people to do this. You don't understand.
I forgot about that, but I like that about Mike.
And like I said, even though Gus was
loyal,
dead, he was
people.
Yeah, even though Gus was dead, he was a good enough businessman to be like, I can acknowledge that you won this war and you're my boss now, and I'll tell you how it is. You know?
Yeah,
that's why
Mike.
I really appreciate Mike.
Easy S tier.
Yeah,
easy.
I had no questions about it.
He's one of the most popular characters for Breaking Bad.
B to D.
S.
No.
Why?
Why do you say S? Let me hear it.
Because the actor is fucking phenomenal.
Well, I agree that the actor did a great job, but I don't think that he's S tier in the plot itself.
I have a hard time separating for the performance that the actor gave to put him any lower.
The reason I would put him S is if Walt did these business transactions with Tuco, and shit went awry and he fucking killed like his own cousin or whatever and stuff like that, and then Walt like, I'm not gonna do big time anymore, I'm just gonna sell on the streets, let Jesse handle that or whatever. If that were the case, I would put him in S tier. That would have been very meaningful in the plot. Tuco was the whole reason that he didn't get fucked up, but no, I mean, even though he was fucking a psychopath and all the shit that he put him through and Hector put him through, Walt still decided to keep going.
The thing with Tuco, as few episodes as he was in, the little impact that he had, just the fact that he is so ingrained in the series, right? For him to be in as few episodes, he was only like in 4 or 5 fucking episodes. If you really add it up, I'm pretty sure. But the impact that he had, just because of the actor's job alone, I'll put him in an A. You think that's too high? Tight, yeah, red, blue, pink, yeah, whatever it is, keep giving me that.
I do. I think it's too high.
The actor gave it such good, and I remember.
I do agree that the actor did a phenomenal job. I'm not arguing with you on that.
I know Vince Gilligan wanted the writer or producer for Breaking Bad wanted the actor who plays him to do it for more seasons or whatever, but the actor was good enough to know what's too much of a good thing, I guess. So that's why he pulled it back. He was in Breaking Bad, in Better Call Saul some, but the actor knew well enough from what I hear it to where like, you can only do so much of a good thing to where it's only gonna be good if I give you just a little bit, and that's how the actor did.
I will give you a B, but only because, not just because of his interaction with Walter. You can put it in A if you want, but I'm just saying for me it would be B and low B maybe. But the only reason that I would give him that high, like I said, I didn't like his character in itself, but the fact that it wraps back up into Hank and Salamanca, and it's this seed that when you see the seed you don't appreciate it, but when it fucking sprouts and it's got all these connections out, you realize if it weren't.
And you get even more of that in Better Call Saul, but without saying Better Call Saul, I would still put
you know that Tuco is the reason that Walter's head went fucking huge. This is because he did that whole like little fake bomb thing and all this stuff where he was like, yeah, I can deal with a big guy like that, and Hank came to kill him and he got away with it, and never knowing that Walt was even there and pulling off this big thing that he was, what did he say, that he was in a spell? I don't know, but it was just a lot. It was a lot.
He killed it.
Like I said, I just said he was a seed, and I can appreciate the seed.
I can see where you want to put him in a B, but just because of how... So we're going to differentiate more on this than we have any other tier list. So for me, Tuco, S. He's S.
But for me, I'd say low B.
Actor killed it so much to be so memorable. You know, what is it? Remember, I was saying earlier, tight. We still quote that sometimes. Tight, red, blue,
fucking put
pink,
that cocaine under his nail, but tight.
Yeah, and he's
I don't give a fuck what color it is, as long as it gets me high like that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And he's still good in Better Call Saul, I'm pretty sure too. We see how he got in jail and all that, but so she's gonna put on B. I like that we had one that's kind of very jaded, but yeah, I hate to leave him there and I hate to leave him here. We'll leave him in B.
We can leave him in A. You wanted S, I wanted B. We'll put him in A.
That's why I put him in A.
Fucking Walt. That's a hard one, I think.
No, it's not. S. The only reason it's an S.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. It's hard for me to
It's an S or an A, right?
I don't know. I have to really think about it, honestly. That's why I was.
The only reason it's an S and not just an A for me, because there are times in the series, of course, when Heisenberg is unlikable. But then I feel like the following season, maybe in season 2, he was very unlikable, but in season 3 they try to build him back up, or maybe he's, maybe he's very unlikable in season 3, but then very likable in season 4. I can't remember. But they have to do those things, of course, because he's the main character, so they have to keep him built up in the audience's eyes. I get that. I get how TV and all that works. But the reason Heisenberg or Walt is overall an S and not an A for me is for the same reason that Jax Tyler from Sons of Anarchy would be an A and not an S, or would be an S and not an A for me. It's because it's a very interesting thing when you can write a character to end up like Waltz did in the final episodes of Breaking Bad, to where he's so self-absolved, to where he's completely at peace with who he is, and completely self-aware of who he is, to where he's completely aware to die for his faults, or completely aware of his faults, to where he can die and be okay with that, or aware of that. And that's how he did turn up in the very last episode of Breaking Bad, to where he made all of his rights wrong with Jesse, with, Skyler, with Walter Jr., whatever, to make sure all of his money went to them, to where he made sure he saved Jesse because of the way he had done Jesse wrong. He would be either an A or a B if he hadn't eventually became self-aware enough to make his character, redeemed for all of his sins. And it's a very special thing, and it's a very unique thing and interesting thing to have a character who can do so much wrong but then become so aware of it and it feel organic, like it did in Breaking Bad, to where it's like, okay, well, he can die at peace, and I feel at peace with him because he's totally realized all of his faults at the end of it, and that's the end of it. And it doesn't make it right, but when in death, I guess there is really no, it's dark to say, but there is really no more, more way for him to make it right other than just to die himself. So overall, I think I think there was some weak seasons of Breaking Bad where his character kind of went, fluctuated. Season 3 particularly, as I've said. But in the long run, it's for the last time I'll say, it's a very interesting thing to have a character become able to become fully self-aware at the end and make all their rights wrong. And Walt got the opportunity to do that. So it's interesting to me for that reason.
I just don't know. I mean, I could easily put him in S, but I could also easily put him in D. I mean,
yeah,
I don't
and that's
know.
fair, and that's the interesting thing about it.
It's hard, but I guess that's maybe another reason why I should put him in S, because, like you were saying, he was wrote in as this loser character. I mean,
you can sympathize with him as well, because looking at how Gray Matter or whatever that organization should have been his, but it wasn't his because he wanted to have a family.
That's
for different
what I think
reasons.
about.
You can relate relate and understand him to a degree, but also not to a degree.
That's what I think about.
That's why he's such a gray area character. One of the most gray area characters for anything in our media or whatever. Where it's just an interesting conversation to think about and have.
That's what I think about a lot, because I feel like, he started off as this nobody, loser, nerdy, dorky science teacher, didn't really get far in life, even though he, definitely had the potential and the means to, he was like not a doctor, but he probably had like at least a master's degree, he went to school a lot, he knew a lot what he was talking about, he's very educated, very able to do stuff like that.
They make him like a superhero through the plot sometimes. Right. With some of the things he's able to do, it's very badass.
But he couldn't even, in my head, be like a nerd correctly and make the money that he should have been. And for whatever reason, it don't matter. But still, that's just the reason that a lot of people empathize with him. Like, oh, he can use that same knowledge to do something great. Whether it be great or not, but great monetary wise, it's great. He can produce a lot of money because he knows how to make the purest form of meth that you've ever seen. I mean, it might not be a great thing, but it's already out there, and he is the best one to do it. And I guess I get where your head would get big like that, because if you've never known yourself to be excellent at anything, and you're finally good at something, whether it be shitty or not, your head is going to get big, and you're going to be very cocky that, I'm good at science. I went to school for a long time. I can do it. You can
sympathize with him, but at the same time,
of course.
So.
But at the same time, you I don't know, it's just hard.
You can't sympathize with him, because at the same point, you look at him and like, look, you should have stopped here. You shouldn't have led Jesse to do this. Right. You shouldn't have led your family to believe this or whatever.
Because you would know, he's a very, very smart man. But he wasn't smart enough to use, like, common sense, basically. Like, it was just so egotistical, like, prideful stuff. Like, I can do it. I've been doing it. Even with my DEA agent brother-in-law, I could still do it.
And it's just like,
and it just gets worse.
Well, I think we're gonna move Hank up to S tier, because just like as we told, it's just like the quote from Hank where he said, you're the smartest man I ever knew, but you're just not smart enough to see that this guy made up his mind up, 10 minutes ago, what he was gonna do to me. That's why I kind of hate that. What's his name? I can't even remember the guy who kills Hank, but. Todd's not in here. The Nazi guy who kills Hank isn't in here. Huel isn't in here. I think Huel is a side plot where we should say he's S, just because he's so, I don't know, he's good comedic relief, of course, because 95% of his scenes, I think, are just him fucking breathing into the camera.
Just sitting in a chair.
But then, and he's in Better Call Saul too, basically doing the same things. But then the ones that aren't him breathing in a chair, surprisingly, like the ones where he's kind of busted or whatever, and they're trying to bust him, like, we know you've been doing this and this, and just basically give us Saul Goodman or give us, Heisenberg. The actor actually does a really good job with those scenes, so,
But I guess that's why I don't really want Walt in his tier. I mean, I can see it. I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I feel like I'm not saying that people don't change over time. I think they do, of course, with him being like this nobody, like, don't even want to open my mouth at the supermarket saying that you got my total wrong or whatever, like going from that to this big meth dealer or whatever.
Yeah, I could put him in an A. Like I said, the only reason he's not in an A for me is because of the way he becomes self-aware in the final episodes, which is very interesting.
I think that's good, but it's
when he's self-aware of who he is and what he's become, and that he's gonna die.
I can't admire it like you do, because he was back in this loser state of not cooking meth and not being the #1 meth dealer anymore for how long that he was, gone and moved out?
Like a year, yeah.
I mean, he was already back to this status that he wasn't used to anymore, and maybe that was the only reason that he came to his senses and realized, now
his
that I think about it.
up,
I mean, now that I think about it,
It's
I
interesting.
shouldn't have fucking done any of that. And
I like that ego part, as frustrating as it can be.
But that's what I'm saying. It's so frustrating because the acknowledgement of him not having the ego anymore can make him realize that he should have had an ego and let it go to a certain extent and then right his wrongs. It's just very hard to say with Walt. I mean, he has a lot of good traits, a lot of bad traits, and a lot of just medium traits. I mean, that's...
So where would you want to put him?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's the only reason.
It wouldn't be something that I straight up have to sleep on.
I think it's supposed to be that way, but I think Walt and Jesse are both in S tier just because their characters are so complex and so deep that they're interesting to talk about the different avenues that their characters could have taken or that they did take. More so with Walt though, I feel like Jesse's character was always towards the good, of course, but Walt's character is more surprising when it goes more towards the good at the end.
Yeah, because I can think about all the bad things, but I can also see all the good things that I appreciate. I didn't see as much bad things with Jesse. I guess that's why I wanted leaning more towards A. But like even with Saul, like you were saying, I mean, Walt would just show up and be like, "Just tell me how much it is. $100,000. Here's $100,000. Do your job." And then he would get mad if something came up with Saul and something like that. It doesn't work like that. Or even Skyler, he'd bring in like $1 million. Like, I can't launder $1 million in one day at a car wash. I can't fucking do that,
Right.
But he was just like, whatever, just fucking do it. It got so out of hand where it was almost not natural, I guess, where it wasn't, where most people would at least have that reality check, whether it be by your kids or your spouse. Had he been a fucking bachelor, no kids, no husband, no wife, husband, or whatever, I guess it would have made more sense. Like, if he were the same way in Jesse's positions, young, bachelor, no responsibilities, making money, I'm on top of my game, it would make sense to be a fucking dickhead, prideful bastard. Right. But because he has all of these dues to pay to his family, and it's just so hard for me to say.
Just taking where Walt started out, a high school chemistry teacher, getting fucking bullied by his students, by his wife at home in the first episode, and then by the last episode, he's the biggest dealer there was for methamphetamine in the world. Just take all that in, how cool that is for development, as organically and naturally as it came for the most part with the story. I have said, I think I said in the beginning of this, Breaking Bad is a little bit overrated just because I feel like HBO, a series, could have done it a little bit more organically than what AMC did with it. But, just taking, Walt's strong development for it and just how interesting it is compared to, it is probably the most interesting development that you could get from a TV show character, I feel.
He is definitely the most complex character in the TV show. As much as I want to say Jesse is second, he is. I mean, he is second, no doubt.
That's fitting because they're both the main antagonists for the show.
Right, no doubt that he's second, but the gap between them is still so huge. It's very hard. I know for you, it's easy for you to say that it's S tier, but I can't confidently put him anywhere. But I've said my piece on him.
Because he's shitty in some ways.
And it's just, it's a lot. It's just a lot.
Right. So A tier, I think, is a good place to start.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that because, he's shitty in some ways. And like I said, he would be A for me if not for how he became self-aware in the last few episodes. And I think that's interesting. It's just a soft spot I have for TV show characters where they become self-aware.
I think for me, it's just like you waited that long to be a good person when it wasn't like he was an equally bad person. It was just he just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it was like fucking rock bottom, letting Walter Jr. believe that he was this great guy. Like, oh, your mom just leaving me because she's a fucking bitch and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what I can do for her. She just asked for so much. Like, just gets that little out of hand for me,
But towards the end, the beauty of it is he knows that Walter Jr. knows he's a piece of shit, but at the end of the day, that's not just he wants to seem like a good guy, it's just he wants to take care of him. He wants to leave him his money. It took him a while to get to that point, but at the end of the day, he just wants to take care of Walter Jr. and Skyler, versus just seem like a big man. He had to develop into actually a good person who just wants to leave them the money versus be the big man who left them the money. You know what I'm saying? Because
No.
he was already a shitty person in their mind. There was national news. He was a big meth dealer, and so he just wanted to leave it to them without them even knowing it was from him, just for the sake of leaving it to them. Maybe it was something for his personal ego, but they wouldn't know that.
Yeah, like even with, I don't even know what it was, where they had the money come in, and he was so irritated that people didn't know that it was him bringing it in, that he was saying, I don't even know, I don't remember what it was exactly, or even just money in general about meth, and Walt was like spilling too much details about, not necessarily how the meth operation works, but, you know, just a little bit of details, and Marie and Hank were just like, what? And Skyler was looking at him like, you know, fucking cut it out. When he was, that one scene where he was sitting in the kitchen drinking a bunch of wine, and they were like, hey, are you coming back or whatever? You know, because he couldn't hold back that fucking ego thing where, they're talking about this amazing Heisenberg character with the purest blue meth on earth, and he's probably worth, you know, X amount of $1 million. I gotta say, you know, something. I gotta say something.
Right, and that was irritating, but I'm saying in the last...
Yeah,
in his last moments of life, he was absolved to where he... Because think about it, even if he was just so consumed with his own character, would he have cared to go back and save Jesse?
The thing that I ask myself
if he
had the opportunity to get back in the meth business and be the same meth cooker that he was and be on top of it like he was, would he have turned it down?
Oh, you mean if he hadn't caught the stray bullet and whenever he saved Jesse and all that, and he...
Would he have been on top of the game again? I don't know. Just don't know.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
But that's why
it's so complex.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So yeah, but yeah, I'll leave him in an A just because, like you said, it is kind of complicated with him. But yeah, that's it. I know there was a few characters left out of that I would have liked to entered in. I think the receptionist for Saul also would have been a good one to have in there. I can't even think of what her name is, but you know, just as much as
I know who you're talking about, but no.
Just as much as Huel.
She put up with a lot of shit, but still.
Huel's buddy, Combo.
I like Combo.
Yeah.
I think I guess since he died early, they didn't put him in there with Skinny Pete and Badger, but same thing.
So yeah, that's it for our very bad character tier list. I think, you know, some of these we could have went into even more than we did, even though we went into a lot more than we probably should have, for just a quick tier list. But that's that. So yeah, we may do more TV show tier list maker videos. You know, maybe if we watch Walking Dead over time, or we'll see what comes our way. But yeah, so thank you for watching. I was pretty long. We're pretty drunk. I think you probably seen me sober up through the course of this video.
Yeah,
as well, because it has been a long one. But you know, just Breaking Bad is a good show just because of a lot of the topics that I feel like we've brought up.
But I think we did a good job of explaining, drunk or not.
For the most part, yeah, we did. So yeah, it's all very interesting. So we'll see what's next to come, and that's all we got to say for this one.
Bye, bitch.
I know. Yeah, I was about to say. I know what the final thing said for these videos are supposed to be now. It's your money. It's bye, bitch. So you got that.